We are very excited to present our interview of a third song in, all-time favorite, musician Ike Reilly. Born and raised in Libertyville, Illinois, Ike Reilly is the founder and frontman for the Ike Reilly Assassination. He was a graduate of Libertyville High School and Marquette University. He performed in multiple bands while also holding a job as a doorman at the Chicago Hyatt in the late 80s. He's the subject of a fantastic documentary we've talked about in the past called Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night. And his friend and fellow Libertyville native Tom Morello once described him as part Springsteen, part Replacements. Welcome to the podcast, Ike Reilly.
Hi there. How you doing?
Hey.
I understand you're also an accomplished archer.
For the listener, I got a text from Ike asking me if I had gotten all the stuff about his archery career, to which I said, "What?" And it turns out he was fucking with me.
Maybe I was. Maybe
maybe not. After watching the documentary, which I've actually seen twice, and recommending it on this podcast, one of your other jobs, along with being a doorman for quite a while, I think, in downtown Chicago, it appears you were also a grave digger for an early part of your life.
Yeah, well, I also wasn't a doorman just in the 80s. I was a doorman for almost 14 years, well into the late 90s.
Oh, is that right? I got the dates wrong, or times wrong.
Well, you got them right, but it was a long tenure, And before that, as a kid in the summers, for 7 summers, I worked at for the Archdiocese of Chicago, Lake County cemeteries. And I did everything from landscaping to painting miles of fence line to operating a backhoe. I was at least 250 funerals before the time I was 22 years old.
Wow. That's a foundation, I guess, for a songwriter right there.
Yeah, it affected me deeply in so many ways. The rituals and the sorrow of funerals combined with the absurdity and silliness of my workforce was, I raced a guy on back near Section 7 of Ascension Cemetery in my underwear one morning for a case of beer, and we had a lot of shenanigans out there,
Did you win?
Of course. I was fast. Yeah, some kid I worked with who had, I was a good middle distance runner, it ran in college, and this kid just kept shooting his mouth off, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with it, but the regulars really stoked the fire just to humiliate him. And we ran just about a 300-yard run, and the finish line was toilet paper held by Furman Bunteo and Omar Hernandez. And I kind of just hung back till I beat him at the end. And then he had to buy 2 cases of old style tall boys for the crew. That was what he had to give.
That is the perfect victory prize. So I did have a question as to whether you were an athlete in high school or college, only because I know all 3 of your sons were college soccer players, which actually creates a connection, by the way, with Chris and I. Chris's son just left for his second go round with the PSG club in Paris, in their academy. And both my boys are freshman soccer players who just finished their first season in Iowa. Did you play soccer when you were
No, in
high
fact,
school?
they had the first soccer team this is, I don't know how compelling this is for your listeners, but whatever. The first soccer team at Libertyville High School was my senior year. I didn't even know it existed. I had played football then. I started running cross country because of my track. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin lacrosse as a freshman. as a distance runner, but I got corrupted by some locals here to start playing rugby. And so I transferred to Marquette, gave up the rigor of middle distance running at a collegiate level to play rugby, and which was much less demanding and much more fun. And I did that at Marquette. And I played with, that's where I met Chris Farley also. And
Was that Marquette?
yeah, he came out for rugby when he was a freshman.
I was very close in my introduction to telling you that I was going to do my best to keep this from turning into an episode of the Chris Farley show from the SNL skit, because I didn't want to just say, "Hey, remember that album you made? That was pretty cool."
Yeah, I Chris was a good friend of mine. I knew him, way before he was famous, and I'd say the only time that it freaked me out of his success was I wasn't really watching Saturday Night Live, but I turned it on and I saw him talking to Paul McCartney back and I was like, what the fuck? This guy's just crazy.
And that's that sketch, right? That's that one. He was so funny.
This dude. Now, Chris was really funny, but yeah. So in any case, I did not play soccer, but I probably would have, my boys were good at it. So Libertyville had the first team in 1980. And my boys were on 3 of 4 teams that made it to the state finals. And one of my boys, Kevin, was the captain of the team that won the state championship. And we've only had, I think, 2 or 3 sports that have won a state championship in the 120-year history of our high school. So,
wow, that's very cool.
It was great, yeah. And then they all went to the same small school in Wisconsin, and they were all the captains there. And then Mick was a prolific scorer, and he's playing in the USL 1 league in Portland, Maine now as a professional, and they're in the Final Four of the playoffs in their inaugural year. So it's exciting. A lot of, yeah, their team's actually, I mean, I think I told you, they're kind of the talk of American soccer of what could be. They've sold out every single game. 6,000 people. They got 2,000 people on their waiting list for season tickets. Wow. And it's the greatest product. You go there, it's so festive and so exciting, and the community is behind it. The whole state's behind it. So it's great,
Actually, though, that does lead me to one of the topics I thought would be fun to talk about, which is your family. Because you've mentioned your sons and their athletic endeavors, but over the last few years, particularly I think since the pandemic, they've done a lot of work with you on stage. I know they've joined you in the band. They did a lot of those family quarantine hours that you were doing when everybody was locked down. And as I understand, well, I saw them perform with you at American Music Festival at Fitzgerald's last summer. And it looks like a lot of fun. It looks very cool.
It's the best, like I said, we didn't push any kind of music on these guys because it's just a fucking difficult life, unless you have to do it. Turned out my oldest son has been writing great. He's written a bunch of great songs. Our next album, which we can talk about, is going to be a combination of both our songs. But I'd say, the boys' strength is their inhibition, or inhibition. Yeah.
Or
lack of, they have no, this double negative shit's going to drive me crazy. But I write those into songs a lot to make Tommy O'Donnell, my bass player, laugh. But I write a lot of sentences in songs that make no sense at all, and it really takes a long time to figure out what I'm trying to say because I don't really know. But in any case, yeah, their ability to, when I was a kid, I had to drink a half a bottle of Jameson to play songs with my guitar, and they're just comfortable in their own skin, and they can, they can sing, and the genetic connection of voices is always is cool with any family.
That was one of the things I was going to bring up. You just this past Saturday before we're recording, did one of your family quarantine hours, which to me was a little out of the blue. Have you been doing those recently?
We haven't been doing them because we've been playing so much, but we love to do them. And because, we've got fans that we don't go west much. And, going to see us is like finding a cockfight. You got to know where to go. And, uh, and we can bring my mom over and my son-in-law doesn't play on tour, so he'll sit and play drums. And, it's a different medium. It's kind of like public access in 1950s television. We've got it so I mean, I think our live stream sounds as good as anybody's really.
I
And
agree completely. I wrote a review of the documentary. We'll talk about the documentary in a bit, but I wrote a review a couple months ago about it. And I don't know if they'll take offense at this, but a
of
lot of the
course I
clip,
will.
a lot of the clips from the family quarantine hour, when you watch them back to back as someone they're kind of set up in the film, it just reminded me a little bit of watching the Monkees back in the 70s. Either people climbing in through windows. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I mean, that was the shtick of the show. We didn't do it the other. They always coming through the window. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly. The boys are fucking funny, and
They are.
their absolute lack of respect for me seems to really resonate with everybody that watches it.
It was a lot of Saturdays was great. One of the highlights for me was the fact that you brought your mother up on camera to sing a song with you, and Shane was standing next to her, and it was just truthfully, it was the sweetest thing I ever saw. It was really, really awesome.
She's 98.
I know you said that. It was just
It's
amazing to me.
Yeah, it's amazing. When she came walking in the other night, she goes, "I'd like to hear some songs I haven't heard before." I go, "Well, you came to the wrong fucking place, man, because you're not gonna, you know." I'm really fortunate in the sense, I mean, I never thought I'd live in this town and stay here. And, my daughter and her kids live 5 houses from us, and my mom lives a half a block. The boys live in the city. Kevin lives with my guitar tech and three of his roommates. Kevin's 26 years younger than is next to all three of his roommates,
Wow.
but he's digging it. But they live in the heart of Wicker Park, Hipsterville
Yeah.
down there, and
A good place to live in your mid-20s would be my
and,
my
yeah,
statement.
and Shane's married.
Well, now on the show I saw Saturday, and I'm thinking back, and I think most of them, Shane plays. He usually is playing guitar along with you on those shows, and
Yep.
on stage when I saw you at Fitzgerald's. Do your other sons play instruments as
Kevin,
well?
Kevin and Mickey play acoustic guitars, but it's just too much. We don't need it for the show.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but there'll be times when we'll play together. Yeah, but when we're with the full band, we got a lot of firepower.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Your live show is outstanding. I had a blast. That was the first live show. The Fitzgerald show was the first time I'd gone to see live music for probably about 6 months or so, and it was the right day to go because it was you, it was Marcia Ball. It was a hell of a
Yeah,
hell of
we
a
have
night.
a great rock and roll. I mean, we're not really an Americana band. I mean, in the
Right.
sense of whatever that is. But I mean, I'm proud of our band, and I mean, there's a visceral energy that my band provides for me. Like my drummer Dave Cotini and Pete. I mean, I got a Phil. I'm fortunate to be able to keep this band together that long without the big money. I try to I like to think we're together because we believe in the music and they believe in my songs and I believe in them. And, I try to make the shows as meaningful for people as we can, and as communal and cathartic as possible.
And I agree with you. I would not describe your music as Americana music. It is hard to describe your music to people when I want to tell them you got to listen to this guy, because I feel that there's hip hop influences in what you sing. I feel there's obviously just straight rock and roll, particularly when you see you live. Have you ever been forced to try to describe what your influences are or how you describe your music?
I've been forced every time I do one of these interviews.
There you go.
I don't. I think what I've tried to do is I've tried to avoid copping my influences too much. I mean, I love, what you think I'd love. I love The Clash. I love Bob Dylan. I like the Pogues. Blues music was a huge influence in my life as a young kid, but it's all been done so much that I've really leaned into trying to tell my own story lyrically, and for better or worse, I mean, I think it could hamstring me commercially a little bit. I don't know, but I'm proud of what we've done, and I'm not embarrassed to sing any of the songs I've written.
Yeah, I've been kicking around an idea for an essay to write for a while the title in my head is genreless. And that's you were one of the bands I want to write about because there's a handful of bands that are that unique that I don't think you can point to a specific influence, but any individual song, you're like, oh yeah, he definitely listened to the Pogues, or he definitely, spent some time, listening to old blues stuff.
One of my best friends and mentors, Tony Fitzpatrick, he's an artist. You guys know he died a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah.
he was kind enough to say that what he liked so much about us is that we were uniquely ourselves, like there's nobody, it's just what we do, and that's what you strive for, I think, I mean.
Well, and adding your sons seems to have only made that more the case, in my opinion. It was interesting. You mentioned something about kind of the genetics of it all. You guys harmonize so well, and your youngest son wasn't with you on Saturday, but I've watched shows where he's there. They all have different voices than you, but they all sound really cool when you're together, or even when you're alternating verses. It just
Pretty powerful, yeah. I mean, Kevin can he can double me and sound just like me. He wouldn't sound just like me if he was singing alone, but it's crazy how we can lock the phrasing in, and it's hard to do. But
well, I was gonna ask that question. Obviously, you rehearse. You have to rehearse. But was that just, is it natural? I mean, when you watch Shane sing, and I wanted to bring up a couple of his songs eventually because he sang a couple new songs in the show Saturday. His song or his voice is different than yours.
He's got it. But he and I have played the most together. So when we sing together, we are fucking locked in.
Yeah.
And he sings in a lower register than me usually. He's got like a richer voice. My voice is getting beat up. And it always was, when I was young, even it sounded like this. But yeah, if Mick was here, we would, Mick is a really great lead vocalist. Like he's got a great voice. But yeah, I mean, some of it's natural, but we put a lot of time in too,
And I assume, particularly with Mickey playing pro soccer at this point, he's not involved in many rehearsals. But do you get together with your other two sons a lot right now as you get ready to go out and sing, or no?
No.
No.
Shane and I do a lot of shows together. Kevin's been rambling around the world a lot on his own. He's been traveling a lot. He also works at a hotel like I did. He's got the freedom to travel. If I could get Kevin to rehearse more, we'd be fucking bulletproof. Kevin showed up when you saw him show up the other night, and
when he it looked like he wandered onto the
I was singing, I saw him walk in the bed. The set where we sing is over there, and the back door is back behind me. I was singing, and I just saw Kevin walk in. I'm like, oh, good, he's here. So,
and the like you said, the give and take. You can call it lack of respect, but there is a connection between you guys, and
we're very close. Yeah,
it was fun. Again, very fun. I think Chris and I both have similar relationships with our kids, but they're younger. They're not in their 20s yet. But I'm hopeful that I have that kind of connection, truthfully, because
I'm lucky. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't hold anything over them anymore because I don't provide anything for them because I have no money. So. There's a certain equality that poverty brings to a family. And I
was going to ask, do your kids, your sons, because you have an older daughter, correct?
My daughter is the oldest, and she's got 3 kids, and
Right.
her husband was playing drums the other night.
Oh, he was the one that was on. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And and just to tell you, I've known that kid, my son-in-law, since they were in kindergarten. He was in band in 1st grade, and when he was in 8th grade, his band opened for me at the Metro. That's how long I've been fucking around with him.
Wow.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I know that one of the things we want to plug before you leave the episode today is that you've got a new radio show coming up on XM or Sirius XM Radio. And I want to just point out, to give myself a pat on the back, as I understand it, your radio show is going to be called Lies and Apologies.
That is correct.
Which I know is something that you specifically said in the documentary. You said it from the stage, and it is the opening line that I used in my essay when I reviewed the thing. I thought that was the coolest line ever. And when you told me that was going to be the name of the radio show, I had to pat myself on the back because I picked the right one.
Well, that's great. I didn't even, that wasn't like a super, the editor found that take. Like, it wasn't something I normally say. He wanted to name the film that. And then I, of course, am lazy with titles. And when I had this meeting with Sirius XM Radio, and I thought it was just an introductory meeting, but it wasn't. They're like, "Yeah, you're going to get a show." I was like, "Okay."
Wow.
I said, I abbreviated our conversation, but I just said, "Yeah, I want to call it Lies and Apologies," because I had a podcast years ago called "Where's My Goddamn Medicine," and I wanted a shorter title,
Yeah, that was the line that stuck out to me. I think I referenced it at the beginning and the end of that particular review. So as I said, see, Chris, sometimes I get that shit right.
Every once in a while. Man.
Every once in a while. But so what's the concept of the show? First of all, when does it start?
It starts in January, tentatively. I'm going to find out this week what channels it's going to be on, but it's going to be a 70-minute show that'll be new every month. But it'll be, I don't know how they're going to, where they place it.
Right.
They've got a lot of channels. I don't know if it'll be on Alt Nation or Lithium. I don't know yet, but I'll find out. But then it'll also be available on their app all the time and on Spotify. And it's, it's, I'm curating records.
Gotcha.
But they want me to play, I'm going to play 5 of my own songs too. But
so how did that connection happen? How did
I had a fan who was an attorney that worked for them, who set up a meeting, and then when I met with Scott Greenstein, who's the head of it, and he told me that Springsteen had played him a song I wrote called Bolt Cutter. I don't know if I believe that, but I don't argue with Scott Greenstein.
Right.
He's
That's one of my favorite songs.
And he's really I love the guy. He's the CEO, and we talked for an hour, and I literally thought, well, this is just some long shot thing. And he said, I want people to hear your music. And
that's outstanding. See, Chris, sometimes lawyers are good for something.
Yeah. How many lawyers it takes to shingle a roof?
How many?
Depends how thin you slice them.
I have not heard a lawyer joke that I hadn't heard before in a long time.
Is that one you haven't heard?
That's one I haven't heard.
I heard a joke yesterday that I got to tell you. A penguin walks into a bar. Bartender says, "How may I help you?" He says, "Hey, I'm here looking for my brother." The bartender says, "What's he look like?" It's a dad joke, I guess, but
that's a good one though.
All right. Sorry.
So, so we think in January, if you will let us know when you have more solid information, we'll put that up on our As Mentioned page on thirdsonginpodcast.com. We'll throw it up on our social media and try to get the word out. I have a Sirius XM subscription myself, so I'll be definitely in for the ride.
Yeah, I'll be playing, we're going to be broadcasting from the banks of the Des Plaines River on the outskirts of Libertyville, Illinois. And I'm playing songs that I say, are performed and written by people that really mean it. And, or like I say, if they don't mean it, they're so good at it, even when they're faking, you think they mean it.
Right.
And I'll talk about, like the first show has Dylan, The Clash, Butterfield Blues Band, Joe Strummer, 5 Ike Reilly songs, Ike Reilly Assassin, my band songs, and I tie it together tangentially.
That sounds, again, right up my alley. I will be tuned in
Yep.
for sure, and we'll get the word out too. So that'll be on Sirius XM. I want to again make sure that we let listeners know that they should watch Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, which is a really well-made documentary that is focused a lot on Libertyville and kind of hometown. I think is the feel that you get from it. This is probably, truthfully, the 4th time I've mentioned that documentary on this podcast, so people might be getting sick of me saying it, but
Well, it's good,
I'd recommend it.
yeah, I mean, in spite of the subject, they made a film that's really interesting and not like music nerdy. It's not like, they didn't do anything where they're like, the microphone goes here on this guitar amp or any of that shit. It's really about life. And it's
Yep.
about, it's about pursuing something and having the support of incredible artists and an incredible family. Not an incredible family, but a supportive family.
Yeah, and then, again, when you watch even the quarantine show Saturday, and you see your mom on stage, and you see your son wander on, and you give him a little bit of shit for maybe an aroma he brought with him into the room.
Fuck,
It was really entertaining, man. That's my kind of family.
Yeah. I mean, I should tell you, I never included my family in anything before 2020. I mean, in publicly.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
I will say that if you watch the film, your wife Kara comes across as a saint, particularly I think from pre-2020 is my guess.
yeah, I mean, she's been in the thick of it a long time, and she thought I was going to law school when we got married because I lied
The
to
old
her.
bait and switch.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, but it is what it is. She says we're doomed together. So we're doomed together.
Well, like you said, that film is about music, but it to me was much more about family and sticking it out through good and bad, because that's how it all works.
Yep.
I did catch something on social media, and I don't think that this is necessarily a plug because I'm afraid it's going to happen before this episode drops. But I saw that you're going to be playing in Mexico with on a bill with Roger Klein and the Peacemakers and Miles Nielsen. And I'm not sure
When is this show running?
this will come out on December 1st.
Oh yeah, we're going to Mexico January 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Oh, cool.
Oh, excellent,
Nice.
excellent. I misunderstood the dates there.
That's
I'm
because
a
I was
big-
just in Mexico with them alone.
That meant, yeah, that's what it was then. So you've played with Roger Klein in the past. He's a band that Chris and I love. We talk about his albums quite a bit. He's been recommended any number of times. And I don't know, Chris, if you've listened to Miles Nielsen. He plays around here where I live a lot because he has a really good relationship with Mike Trisna, who owns the Chicago Street Pub down here. So he became friends with Miles Nielsen, and they've played around here a ton, and they're a great band to watch as well.
Miles is a great guy. He owns a club in Rockford called the Music Box. I'll be playing at in December.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's another plug then. And the one plug that when I asked you to let me know what was going on, you have a residency, it says, at G-Man in Chicago, December 26th through the 28th, so between Christmas and New Year's.
The Ginger Man is right next to the Metro. It's owned by Joe Shanahan, who owns the Metro. This is a tiny place, and we're going to do 3 holiday shows there, 26th, 27th, and then a matinee on Sunday, I think.
Excellent.
That will be a hard ticket to get. They go on sale, I think, I think they're going to announce it in a couple days, but
Yeah.
it's small. But
Well,
Mickey's going to be the final. Mickey will be playing with us the week of the November 23rd too. So.
Oh, that sounds like a fun show. I'm going to have to try to see if I can sneak in. And unfortunately, it sounds like tickets may be gone by the time this airs, but that doesn't mean that I can't try to get a ticket. So it works out for me.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we might be able to get you in. Who knows?
Yeah, very nice.
But it really is small. It's like
I have not been in that club because I've been to Metro a million times.
It's right. It's the bar. You probably had a drink there. It's a bar right to the north, just right past the alley.
Yeah,
used to be called the Gingerman. They call it the G-Man now. And of course, we have our 24th annual Thanksgiving Eve show at the legendary First Avenue in Minneapolis. I don't know if you knew that that gig has been.
I did not know that.
One of the longest running rock gigs in America.
I've only been able to walk by First Avenue the last time I was in Minneapolis. I've never seen a show there, so that also may be worthwhile.
Yeah, that's
for me.
We've been there every Thanksgiving for.
Is that right?
Oh, except 2020.
Except for the COVID year.
Yeah, but that's people up there call the show Ike's Giving.
Nice, very nice. I heard two new songs when I watched the show on Saturday that I believe were written and I know were sung by your son Shane. One of them was Precious Cargo.
Yep.
And the other one I think is called Bad Bad Man.
Correct.
Might be called Bad Man.
Called Bad Man.
First of all, two excellent songs. My compliments to your son as a songwriter. I thought they were really cool. Are those going to be on the new album?
They are, and they're already recorded.
Excellent. So what's the time frame for the new album coming out?
I hope January or February. That's the plan.
Again, let us know. We'll put the word out on our website, thirdsonginpodcast.com. We have an as mentioned page. All of these things that we can squeeze in there are going to go in for both the shows and the album, etc.
It'll be it's a little bit of a departure in that Shane's songs are included on there, but it's the same players and the same studio, and I think it's interesting, and everybody's singing on all the songs, the boys. So his songs are really, I produced them all. They seem like they've existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how I felt about the two that you did play. I really, very mature songwriting, in my opinion. Which, he looks so young, and I think he's actually a little bit older than I realized he was, but he's still not old by any means.
He looks young too.
Yes, very much, very much. Chris, I don't know, is there anything else we should cover?
The only thing I was going to say is a couple things. This may, I don't know, some.
Yeah, let's let Chris have a little go at it.
Listen, man, it's not my fault. This motherfucker won't ever he won't interrupt anybody.
Well, there's a couple things. So I have this will probably make you think less of me. I have this really weird thing that, like, the musicians that I listen to the most, I feel like I like them if I've discovered them. And Tom discovered you.
So
and has
you
recommended
can't get on board. I get it.
Yeah, no. I've been listening to you nonstop since we found out we were going to be recording you, and been doing resets. I didn't get to watch your movie yet. I will. Okay. But your stuff, like what you talked about, you're going to cover, folks who mean it. I have not listened to a song yet of yours that I don't love. Just the twist of phrases. Doesn't fall into a genre box. All that stuff is just really cool. And you may make it into my top 10 rotation as someone I did not discover. I want to, I don't know if this will embarrass you either, but some of the research I did is one of my favorite lines, because I've been working in higher ed for 30 years. People are always asking me, do you want to be a provost? And I'm like, nope, I'm pretty happy where I'm at. And it's like,
what do you do at Duke?
So the student information system, like where students register and all that fun stuff, my office oversees that stuff. So I'm a little bit more, I worked as a registrar at UNC. I was at American University. I've been all over the place. I've been at 3 big schools. This whole idea of ambition is a weird thing. But I think I realized why I like you so much because this article in WGN, I think your phrase was, "I'm ambitious when it comes to spending time with my family." And it's just a great line. And I think it typifies, it's cool that you've kept your band together. So I'm becoming a big fan. I don't have any great questions that Tom
That's
hasn't already
okay.
asked, but
What
we're
what what
super happy to have you on here.
what do you see a difference in the eras of the records we put out, or do you see we like I'll tell you why I ask you this in a second, but
Okay.
um so I had a song I recorded with the band so long ago, and it was called Gotta Get a Gun. And I was musically, it blew me away, but I was uncomfortable. I had no motivation in the song for why anyone would want to get a gun. I wasn't comfortable doing it, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Hmm.
But since Ice came to Chicago, I have now a motivation for this character in the song to exclaim, I gotta get a gun. I'm gonna release, so I rewrote the lyrics, but the music is 20 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to put what we've done in perspective and see if, and from my perspective, I think our songs don't really feel like they came from the 90s, the 2010s, the 70s, or now I think they're kind of like just that, we've avoided that, I hope. And I guess as you've been delving into our catalog, have you,
Well, this morning, for example, one of the songs, there's two songs that stood out for me. One I laughed, but the Reformed Church of the Assault Rifle Band,
it's a,
um,
it's a weird
which I
song.
thought was, yeah, it is, but it's great, and it also stuck out because of the one of the possible titles would be the True Believers, and I think that was one of the band names of
It's
Alejandro
a really
Escovedo early on.
complicated song. In fact, we were talking
Yep,
about we don't play that much, but
yep.
the but yeah, I mean, it's about this guy. The discussion is between a guy and I think his girlfriend's brother, that he started a band, and he asked them what they're going to call it, and they go, "What is it? The True Believers, the Opiate Gang."
Yes, the Opie Gang.
And the guy goes, "No, we're the Reformed Church of the Assault Rifle Band." So, I mean, I don't know. I think we can't. That song is so hard to play because the chords, they change every damn fucking time, and so we never play it. But I like the guitar in that song, and I like
And
that's where the title for my podcast came from. Where's my goddamn medicine?
so, well, I picked a good one then. And then the
Yeah.
Yeah.
other one, and it might have been Bolt Cutter, but I was running this morning and I was just streaming you. And this may come off as weird, but we're so careful about words these days, about what we say. There's a song, I think it might be Bolt Cutter because I'm looking at what played, where you say, uh, sometimes if you're racist, you're safe. It keeps you
Oh,
safe.
that's a song called "Am I Still the One for You?"
Yes, okay, that's the last song I listened to. I didn't realize that that was.
Yeah.
So I just,
Sometimes being racist makes you safe. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
Mm.
I don't necessarily,
I know what you're saying.
but when I'm right, the things that come out of my mouth when I'm singing aren't necessarily
Yes,
what I believe,
right.
And I
Yep.
always have to remind people, Johnny Cash never shot anybody in Reno, but
Right.
take it as a compliment when people think it did, because you want, you know,
Yep.
that's what I mean when I say people that mean it, like you have, all this shit is just, it's to take the listener somewhere, it's not really my personal opinions. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but it's it's a suspension of reality and belief, and the attempt to draw someone into that world of that 3-minute song.
I was just because when you talk about kind of whether your music is, the word I'll use is evergreen, whether it feels like from a particular time or not. The first album of yours that I ever heard, the one that sucked me in kind of forever, was Salesman and Racist. And that one has that just authenticity. Every song just felt that way. Like you said, it felt like you meant it. Whether it was true or not doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't gauge whether you meant it. It just, those songs were just so interesting to listen to. And I still listen to that album. Like, that's 24 years ago now. And I listen to it probably once every month or two, or at least songs from it. And Chris mentioned Bolt Cutters. That's on my workout mix. And the beats per minute work perfectly for an elliptical. And I listen to that song like 5 days a week. It's the funniest thing.
Yeah, that, I'll tell you. So that was inspired by the first travel ban that Trump, put
Yes.
out in 2017. But there was a disc jockey in Chicago named Lynn Bramer.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away, but I was asked to perform at its 25th anniversary on the air. And I had written that song like a couple days before, but pretended like I made it up on the spot right there. And I said, yeah, let me, because his catchphrase was, I'm your best friend in the world.
Yep.
And in the song, I say, the whole thing is about, going to rescue immigrants and refugees that were handcuffed at O'Hare to the baggage claim. And, in the song, when I sang it at his anniversary, he was the hero in assisting me, the main character, in going to get our bolt cutters to free people out at the airport.
I've always wondered, because I know where you're from. I always wondered if it was a specific DJ that you're making reference there to. And it's perfect that it's Lynn Bramer. Chris, he was the primary DJ as far as that's concerned. I think
he's in the film too.
Yes, I saw he's got a couple talking headshots, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God, I can't believe he's
missed.
gone.
Yeah,
it was always great when he would show up and announce us, introduce us. He was a great friend of mine, great supporter of my songs. And the day I performed it on the air, I personalized it even more. In the real song, it's more of a universal DJ.
Well, I'll tell you what, I cannot believe that we got you to be a guest on this podcast. I am so fired up about it.
That's what happens when you're managed poorly.
Exactly. Yeah, you may want to go back and talk to your management a little bit about.
I don't think they got. I think you circumvented management. That's what I think. I can't say no to anybody. So.
Well, I really appreciate it. We had a guest on a couple, actually end of last year, right? I think it was a guy named Matthew Grimm from the Hang Dogs. He is very, very Americana, but kind of was making it big in quotes around the same time, early 2000s. And he was one of the bands that Chris discovered when we talk about who gets ownership over certain music. And he was so excited about that, and I made fun of him. And then after you said you'd be on the podcast, I was like, sorry, man, I understand what you're saying.
Tom has been way more nervous than usual these past couple of weeks. That's why I didn't interrupt him once. Well, Ike, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It was also fun to see Tom act like such a geek about someone joining the show. It's been great.
He's only human.
He is. What would you expect?
Finally, I get some credit for being human.
For once.
Well, again, thanks so much. Well, hopefully we can have you back sometime, but certainly we want to tell all of our listeners to go to our as mentioned page. We'll put whatever links we can up to Ike Reilly and the Ike Reilly assassination. Look out for the SiriusXM radio show, which will be starting after the first of the year.
Well, thanks for your interest. I appreciate it, man.
All right, bitches, that brings us to the Loft of Wisdom.
You better open up your eyes, babe, because fools do get wise.
Loft of Wisdom are quotes. Chris and I love a good quote, so we try to dig one up from wherever we can find them. Books, music, movies, TV. In this case, I'm pretty sure we had a rich mine to dig into, and I believe we both have Ike Reilly quotes, because if there's one thing he can do is put together words in a cool way.
Yeah, let me start because I've already ruined my surprise in our really great interview with Mr. Reilly. So my quote is from Mike Reilly. I read it in a interview piece they did about sort of why he's never broken through to bigger fame, saying that he should have. And one of the quotes that he had in that article, which is a really good article, we'll put a link to it on our As Mentioned page,
Yeah.
is I'm ambitious when it comes to spending time with my family. I just think that's a great quote. And I don't know Ike Reilly. I'm not going to pretend after one interview I know him really well. But that really came through in the interview, how important family is to him. Obviously, his talked about how he's kept his band together. I think that's usually if you're treating people the right way, like family, and everything he's doing with his sons, on stage and off, and his wife, just and his mom, it's just really cool stuff. So I thought it was a perfect
Yeah.
quote. And go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, if you watch when you see the documentary, it comes through, and it's also very clear that it was a type of growth for him. That wasn't necessarily who he was when he started out in his 20s and 30s, when he was playing and working as a doorman. And I mean, he's been married to that woman Kara forever. But I don't necessarily think he was the doting family man that whole time. And what that documentary really shows is this kind of development into the person he is now, who obviously, really values that time. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
My quote is actually a lyric from a song, and it's from the album Born on Fire, which came out in 2015. I may or may not have put this song on a playlist over the last 2 years or mentioned it. It's, again, his lyrics are just ripe for Loft of Wisdom quotes. And this one I just find funny. And it's funny because it's ironic to put this one on the loft next to the one you just gave us, but I think it was meant to be ironic in the first place. And the lyric is, "What I got to do to get a kid like that, because I'm not really digging the ones I have." And it's just a really funny line in that song, because basically it's about a guy. I think it's kind of about when he was working as a doorman and flagging down cabs for people in downtown Chicago, and he'd see all these people getting out of the cabs, and he was just jealous of their life, and that's part of that whole story and part of that song. I love that song a lot, and I really, really, the first time I heard that lyric, I literally laughed out loud, and it still gets me every time. So both those will go up on the website. We have a drop-down menu where you can find our Loft of Wisdom, and they will be posted by the time you hear this podcast.
And that will bring us to the next segment, which is our post facto.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake.
It's where Tom and I will correct mistakes that we made in previous episodes, complete thoughts that we didn't complete in the previous episode, or just add additional information that we find will be helpful for our listeners based on new information that we might or might not now have.
So I've got two quasi post facto things to bring up. One of them is that one of my favorite entertainers and a piano player we just talked about in our interview with Tim Plaker last week is Marcia Ball. And just the other day, I saw an announcement that she is retiring from touring. And unfortunately, I was just talking about how she still, even a year ago, had as much energy as she did 20 years ago when I saw her play live in New Orleans. Apparently, she was diagnosed with ALS. I don't know if that means she will stop recording as well, but she's not going to tour, which makes perfect sense, but is a giant bummer. I did want to point out, I haven't done this before, and I probably should have in the past, but if you get a chance, Chris wrote an essay for our blog on Substack and on the website about his son Lucas and about his work ethic. And I thought it was outstanding. It was one of the best things I think we've put out on the Substack. It just came out a week ago as we record this, but by the time you hear it, will be roughly a month. But you can find it on our Substack list. You can subscribe to us on Substack as far as that's concerned. It's also on the website, so you can find it on thirdsonginpodcast.com. But I really recommend it. I haven't talked very often about Chris's essays or our blogs, and I should. And this one in particular, I think, deserves notice. So nice job, D-Man.
Thanks, man. I think we both are each other's biggest supporters for our writing. It can be a cathartic experience, it can be a fun experience, and if nothing else, it just gets us back putting pen to paper or keyboard to whatever happens to a laptop, where we can get our thoughts down, which has just been one of the better outcomes of doing this whole podcast thing. So thank you.
Yeah, unexpected, I think, that we would do it and that we actually are enjoying it as much as we have been. So,
Yep.
Next up is staff picks.
Just around the corner from you.
Staff picks is where Tom and I try to replicate the experience of walking into the old record store or video store and seeing up on the board recommendations from the folks who work there. We hope that our recommendations are ones that are helpful for you, and it's any sort of new music, new movies, new TV shows, or something that's new to us. So I'm going to start out this week. This references a concert that I saw the week before we recorded this, which is going to be, a good month before it gets released. But I saw Rustin Kelly play at a local club called the Cat's Cradle, which is a nice little intimate club over in Carborough, North Carolina. Opening up for him was a guy named, hold on, let me make sure I get the name right, Sam McPherson. He has a couple songs that I think folks may or may not have heard of. He's, I think, out of New Jersey. He was really good. It was a short set, but he was really engaging with the audience. He had some good stories to tell. And one of the songs that just struck me, didn't introduce it, is he sang Dancing in the Dark, the Springsteen song.
Oh,
And he did a really great job. And I just thought it was, one of those covers that you do, but he just released or not a video. Just released that on the stream services. And I did like the live version a touch better, but the recorded version's quite good too. So check out Sam McPherson's version of The Boss's Dancing in the Dark.
cool. I will do that
Yeah.
immediately. My staff pick is actually a book that I wrote a blog about. It's kind of a book report. I read the book A Song for a New Day by Sarah Pinsker. It's not brand new. It came out in 2019, but I did not know anything about it till I kind of happened upon it in this weird little pop-up bookstore that I came upon a couple weeks ago. It's an award-winning science fiction book. It won the Nebula Award for Best Novel that year. It is really good. It is, for me, not just a sci-fi novel, but it's really about music and loving music and performing music. So it seems perfect both for this podcast in general and also kind of this episode where we interviewed somebody who clearly loves music and is passing it down to his family. It's kind of post-apocalyptic, but I found it to be very optimistic by the end of the novel. There's lots of ups and downs and twists and turns, but it's a fantastic book. It's called A Song for a New Day. I reviewed it for the November 6th blog installment that you can find on Substack. So it's been out for a while by the time you hear this podcast episode. But I am recommending it as a staff pick. You should run out and find it and read it as soon as you can.
And Tom was good enough to mail a paperback version of that book to me, which I got last week. It is sitting on my side table next in line for my reading list. I'm finishing up a fantasy book right now, and can't wait to read that one, especially after reading his blog. It's a really great, as complimentary as Tom was of mine, his blog made me want to read that book about 5 times more than I wanted to in the first place. So
yeah,
nice
I got to tell you, I think you're going to love it. It is sci-fi, and I know you love sci-fi stuff. The music part of it is what really sold it for me. I'm going to read more of her stuff just as a result of that, for sure.
And it was that part of the blog that made me want to read it, just because think about, we had an episode, what do we call, where we talked about dancing to movies or something. There was like,
Yeah, writing about music or
something, whatever it was. But the whole idea of a book being able to capture the feelings of what music inspires in us is what you did a really nice job in that blog. So I'm looking forward to reading about that.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, I think we're ready for our playlist pick.
I think we are. Tom and I do a playlist for every season. And in each episode, we will choose a song to add, choose a song to add to the playlist. You can find all of these on the streaming services, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. Ideally, the song will tie into the theme of the episode. And how'd you do that this week, Tom?
Yeah, I went just about as predictable as you can imagine. I thought about trying to find a song that reminded me of Ike Reilly and the Ike Reilly assassination. I thought about finding something maybe where he had collaborated with someone else. And when push came to shove, I just went back to the very first Ike Reilly album I ever listened to, which was Salesman and Racist from 2001. And the very first song that I heard off of that album, which is Kami Drives a Nova. And it's just funny. It's very it's upbeat. It really features his voice, which, as you can tell just from his speaking voice, he has a very unusual and unique voice that shines through in this song and pretty much everything he sings. So I decided to go with what I'm pretty sure was the very first Ike Reilly song I ever heard, and that is Kami Drives a Nova.
Very nice. I'm making a last-minute switch in my choice.
You sneaky bastard.
Well, there's no way I could have anticipated this.
There is a way you could have anticipated it. Is that what you're saying?
No, there is. All right, I got the song and I got the album. I just needed the album and I'll add it to it. So I'm going with an artist that Ike just recently performed with, Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers. And the song I'm choosing is Ain't Got the Words, which is one of my favorite songs of his. It's the opening track on 2014's album, The Independent. And Ike always seems to have the words. So this seems to be a, bit of a play on that. But I had no idea. It's pretty cool that I originally was going to go with the Honey Dog song because I was listening to Ike, hit play radio on YouTube Music. And the first non-Ike Reilly song they played was a Honey Dog song, which I love. But the fact that he's fairly regularly performing with Roger Clyne, who's one of my absolute favorites, I figured what better than one of my favorite songs of his to put on our playlist.
Perfect. All right, so those songs will be on the season 10 playlist. We add 2 every week, one per podcaster per episode. So you can find all of those, as Chris said, on all the streaming services. Download them, listen to them, share them with your friends, and let us know what you think of this season's playlist as it develops.
All right, that brings us to the end of the episode, my friend.
Yep, we got to thank Ike Reilly for showing up. As was clear from the interview, I was so fired up that he was willing to talk to us. I have listened to Ike Reilly music for the last 25 years, and he's never put out an album that I didn't like. This new stuff he does with his sons is even better to me than the stuff that I remember listening to early, but everything, he's just got a style. He's got a very unique style. We talked a little bit about that in the interview. It's very hard to pigeonhole him, and I'm so happy that he was able to be a guest. Keep your eye out. He'll have a new album coming out after the first of the year. As soon as we know a title and a release date, we will let you know through our website as well as on our social media. He is having a holiday residency at G-Man in Chicago, December 26th through December 28th. Those shows sound fantastic. Sounds like by the time you hear this, the tickets will be gone, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna try to sneak in and see if I can get some seats. Look for his new Sirius XM radio show, which also sounds like it'll be coming out after the first of the year, Lies and Apologies. He's going to curate it, which means I think you're going to get a lot of different kinds of music, as well as get to hear his stuff and certainly stuff from the new album, I'm sure. And then finally, find the film Don't Turn Your Back on Friday Night, one of the best music documentaries I think I've ever seen. And it's a really interesting story that's not just about the nuts and bolts of being a relatively famous, relatively successful musician. It's a lot more about what that means for someone who has a very solid grounding in his hometown, and obviously a great desire to be with his family and to do things with them. It's just really a cool movie.
Third Song In is recorded in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Joliet, Illinois, and today, Libertyville, Illinois.
Please email us at thirdsongin@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or suggestions you may have. Let us know what you thought of the interview of Ike Reilly. Let us know what you think of our playlist picks or our suggestions.
You could share our playlists. That'd be great. First, listen to them and then share those motherfuckers because they're good playlists out there. We got some great songs, especially our guest episodes. We didn't do one with Ike, but if you simply listen to Ike's music, that's a fantastic playlist itself.
Please follow, rate, and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. Find us, subscribe, share, download, and would you, for crying out loud, give us all your stars. Oh, and I forgot, the podcast is also now streaming on Pandora, so you can give us some fucking stars there too.
We have a bit of a social media presence. You can find us on Facebook, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Tom does a fantastic job of keeping all those sites updated with the latest from our podcast and our website and our blogs.
Plus, we also try to update you about whatever's going on with our guests, including Ike.
Yep.
It's a good place to look if you want to support us and the people who support us.
I support you, Tom. You're my
Hey,
buddy.
if you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
I talked about the blog that Tom and I do. You can find it on our website, thirdsonginpodcast.com. You can also subscribe to it directly on Substack.
Yep, very proud of the blog. It seems to be reaching people, and we'd like to get comments and shares through Substack as well as on the website.
You've been listening to Third Song In with Chris Derrickson and Tom Polachek, and today was Ike Reilly. Thanks for listening. Come on, bitches, let's go. I'm in the mood.
Bitches!
Here we
Come on,
go.
bitches!
I don't think I'm back yet. It hasn't switched over.
Oh, no? I can hear you.
It's
I can see
trying.
it.
I don't know why it's taking so goddamn long. Hold on one sec.
Try yelling, bitches!
Son, what the hell's going on? Why are you taking so long?
I'm no tech expert, but I think you got to yell bitches.